Welcome to Grain by Grain, Tales of Taste, where every episode we explore the flavors that ignite our passions and the stories that inspire them. I'm David, your guide on this journey through the culinary landscape. Today we have something a little different for you. Instead of me at the helm, we're turning the mic over to a fellow podcaster who recently had the pleasure of sitting down with somebody very special to Salt to Perfection and me, our very own founder, Terri Wolters. In this episode, you'll hear Terri share her journey from the spark of an idea to creating a brand that's all about bringing adventure to your table. So without further ado, let's dive into this conversation where passion for flavor meets the spirit of discovery.
Welcome to BRYNK, a podcast about startups figuring things out. Today, I'm joined by Terri Wolters.
Hi,
Terri. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you here today, and I would love for you to tell me a little bit about Salted Perfection. So, I've known you for a little while, and this is one of my favorite startups that's around town because I get to enjoy it. I get to consume it. So, can you tell me about Salted Perfection? What is it?
Well, it's flavor-infused culinary salts in a variety of flavors and textures. So I offer garnishing texture, which is an unusually large pyramid-shaped flake, and a finishing texture, which is a finer flake.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know there were two different kinds of flake. Why would you use the garnishing versus the finishing?
Well, the garnishing adds a nice subtle crunch, some visual interest to the dish. And makes it fun.
Why wouldn't you just only use the garnishing? Why would you use?
Well, there's different uses because the garnishing is a very large flake. Along with it carries a lot of salt. And so it depends. If you want a nice subtle crunch, you would go with the garnishing. If you want a if you don't want that crunch, gotcha, you would go with the finishing. The finishing you can distribute a little more evenly over your dish, whereas the garnishing, you've got large flakes, small flakes, a variety of flake sizes, so you're not distributing the flavor necessarily as evenly.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, in a little bit, I want to talk about all the different types of flavors you have and everything Salt to Perfection does, but I'd love to hear a little bit about why you started this company. Finishing salts and gourmet salts. It's not, that's not the startup idea I hear every day. So what led you to this?
Well, I have been a salt lover since I was a little kid. I was the weirdo putting salt on pizza at the pizza restaurant. But to back up a little, I actually, my day job, if you will, or I've been in the flooring business, or my career has been in the flooring business for, most of my career, I guess. And my employer recently cut my commission after bringing to them the largest client, which kept them open through the pandemic. And so I had a decision to make if I wanted to quit that job and pound the pavement and find that large client again, or if I wanted to start something up on the side to replace that loss of income. And I chose to start Salted Perfection.
Nice. You bet on yourself. I love to hear it. Is this your first startup that you've ever done?
My first, yes.
Okay.
But I've witnessed several startups with my husband's businesses.
Okay, so you've been around it. So you got some exposure there. So I'm curious, what was your biggest hesitation when starting Salted Perfection?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And I have a answer for that.
Okay.
My biggest hesitation was, other than my love of salt, what makes me think that I'm not a culinary professional. I don't have that background. My background's flooring. So what makes me think I could do a business like this, right? And so that was my hurdle that I had to overcome.
So how'd you do that? How'd you overcome that hurdle?
Well, actually, I had a meeting with you.
Yes. This is a podcast all about praising Bryce. That's why we're
Well,
here.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But yeah, I vividly remember our first meeting, and so what in that discussion put you over the top, or were there other conversations? What was special about that?
What was special about that was it changed my whole way of thinking with what I had to do in order to launch a business. Okay. So what I was thinking that I had to have all original products like no other, and that meeting was a turning point for me that, you can get started with some other products that, that others have, if you can do that economically, and then build it to be the unique products. So
yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I do remember in the early days, our first conversation, we're talking about 100 different things that you could be doing, but towards the end of it, we boiled it down to just you don't have to do everything from scratch, right? But very quickly after that, you went out there. I think within like 2 weeks of us having that conversation, you already figured out how to do that, didn't you?
Once I knew the path, then yeah.
That was crazy progress in just a couple of weeks, because I think you came back 2 weeks later and you're like, I've got a product, here it is. And you were how soon from maybe that conversation to out there selling things? Like how long after that did you make your first dollar?
So the way I made my very first dollar was I hosted a couple home parties to introduce it to friends and neighbors.
Nice.
And prove traction, like I had learned that you need to do in our meeting. And they bought the product. They liked it. I followed up with them. Then I thought, okay, well, next step would be the farmer's market. And so I went to the farmer's market. My first day at the farmer's market, I sold $400 worth of salt.
Wow.
And I was like, but this is salt,
That's crazy. Yeah.
So then, and it grew from there. So it was, and that happened within, I think, 3 months from when we had our meeting. Sorry about that.
Yeah, totally fine. So 3 months. 3 months from basically idea stage to in the farmer's market, selling products, making good money, like $400 in a day. That's pretty good.
Well, I didn't make 400.
Wow.
I sold
400.
400.
I know take
right.
home's different, and we don't have to get into all that, but still, that's pretty good. You had done no marketing, right? You just showed up at the farmer's market.
Right. No one knew about me or Salt of Perfection or anything. I just took a chance. So did that feel like a big leap of faith, big risk at the time when you were doing that and going, or at that point were you pretty comfortable? Well, what I have to say is that I've never been comfortable.
Oh.
And that is, I think, I look at it as a good thing, because it pushes me always to exceed, always to do better. Yeah. And so, I And I was learning, how to deal with the market manager. And, there's a lot of drama that goes on there at the farmers markets that the consumers don't see. So-and-so is loud, or, another vendor is...
Well, there's prime spots, right? And then who's next to you matters.
Yep.
And yeah, I've worked with a few companies that go to farmers markets, and yeah, it's there's a whole subculture there, and it matters. But your first day in the farmers market, did you take one of their like open slots, or because I know different farmers markets do it differently, but did you have to make any kind of commitments on that first day to get a spot, or?
Well, you have to apply. So I had to fill out all the documents stating what my business was and my licenses, which at that time was operating under the cottage food law. Okay. And so I had to prove that I was licensed and all that. And then it's where you you have to show up at 6 a.m. You don't know if you're going to get a table or if you're not going to get a table. But I got a table, and then you didn't know where I was going to be located, how it worked, or anything like that. So, yeah, it was...
But you just went with it, and you just figured it out. That's really cool. So let's fast forward to today. You just mentioned that you were operating under the cottage food law. So that means that you're out of that now. So how do things look today? You're selling through farmers markets still? Are you selling online? What are your sales channels, and how are you spending your days with it?
So right now I do have a website, and I've been selling some products through that, and I'm growing that business, or that part, generating online sales. And then also I do have my first retail store, and located right in Muskegon. I've been...
Is this your store, or
No.
your... Oh, okay. You just have products placed in a store.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't very specific
I was
on that.
I was about to be very excited if you had a whole storefront and I didn't know about it. Yeah. Cool.
And but I wanted to use that first store as an example, like to learn, because I haven't been in any retail stores before. So, and that's gone very well. Their first order was for so much, and then they've reordered already, was for triple the amount.
Wow.
So that's really good news. And now I'm preparing to go into more, retail stores like that, or in the wholesale.
Gotcha.
And also, we're going to be putting our products on fair, so retailers can discover our products. And
okay. That's exciting. So that's a few different channels, sales channels. Are you long term? Is there one that you're hoping to win out, one that you want to spend most of your time on, most of your effort on, or do you think you're always going to keep all these channels going?
Well, actually, after last night's meeting, one of the guys that visited my booth or table or whatever had a really good idea with hiring others to work farmers markets. Maybe, and I'm kind of thinking about maybe setting up a little franchise type farmers market business. Cool. Where, I can help people with all the set up the products with all the tools and everything that I've learned and created, so they can run different farmers markets. And
ooh, that'll be interesting. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But working through all of those details, I don't know what that looks like exactly yet, but
yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the salts, because I'd love to hear about best uses for the salts. What are like some fun stories you can share from customers about how they've, adopted salt to perfection in their home, how they brought it into their home. So any fun stories from customers?
Well, from the very beginning, when I started selling the salts at the farmer's market, I asked every single customer to come back to me if they come back. And let me know how they're using them, because I wanted to build a library of uses. I didn't want to assume that I knew everything, because I don't. And it was really surprising to me how many people came back, and not only how many people came back and told me, but how passionate they were on, you have to tell every customer, So for an example, the espresso salt. I had a customer come back to me, and he was extremely passionate, telling me how he used it on steak and burgers. And it's a salt that you would not think to use on steak.
Espresso burger or espresso steak? Interesting.
Right. And how he did it. And so another example would be I make a vanilla salt, and one of my customers came back and said, put it in his coffee.
Nice.
So I learned about that, actually, how vanilla or salt. Do you put salt in your coffee?
I haven't.
Right?
No,
okay.
At least not intentionally. Maybe like those creamers or something have them. No. So should I though?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you take about 1/8 of a teaspoon for a cup of coffee. And what it does is it dampens the bitterness of coffee. It draws out the natural sweet flavor and adds a hint of vanilla.
Okay. Would you replace then like sugar or cream? Okay. Gotcha. All right.
So you would use less sugar or cream because it really makes it smooth. It gives it a really nice smooth taste, flavor, and I do it every day.
That's awesome. How many flavors do you have now? I believe it's
22.
22 flavors. And do you think is that about the size you want to keep your catalog, or do you think you're going to continue to add flavors?
I'm definitely adding flavors continually. One of the challenges that I faced with growing Salt to Perfection is all the flavors. I've learned how to embrace that as being my brand. So I always want to add new flavors.
Okay.
And they'll evolve. I may discontinue. I've discontinued a couple flavors too, based on sales and difficulty in complexity of making the product.
Do you find that most people are buying multiple flavors? Because when I saw you at the farmers market this last year, which is really fun because I wasn't expecting you to be there. It was a great discovery, and I was there with my family, my in-laws, and I was able to pick up a flight of salts, and I gave that as a gift to my mother-in-law, and I thought that was really cool. By the way, I originally gave it to her, and she's like, I don't use finishing. I don't know what this is. And she was, had that apprehension, and then she used it and she loved it. So
that's good to hear.
So I think there's probably some apprehension from people when they just don't know what finishing salt is or any of that. But are you finding that most people are buying? How many flavors are they buying when they come to you? Are they buying just one to start? Or are they buying 2, 3, 5, 22?
I run a promotion where you buy 3, get 1 free.
Okay.
So at the market, most people end up with 4 flavors. That would be my average sale, would be 4 flavors. So whether a salt flight, which contains 4 flavor packets, or the jars, averages out at 4 flavors.
Okay.
So even if it's 1 flight, it has 4 flavors or 4 jars.
Okay. If someone was hearing about finishing salts for the very first time and garnishing salts for the very first time, and they're going to your website right now, and they're going to get just one thing, what would you recommend? Where should they start? How do they start their journey with gourmet salts?
You know, a lot of people ask me that, and then also ask me what my favorite one is. And I can never answer that because I like them all. But I would have to say that I would recommend the most popular selling flavor. Okay. That's how I would answer that. And that would be the applewood smoked garnishing salt.
Do we have that here?
We do.
Is that right? Oh, okay. It looks delicious. All right.
Yeah, and that was my first flavor.
Okay.
So my husband and I, we were making some stuffed mini peppers with goat cheese, rosemary, and thyme, and the recipe called for a smoked salt. And we wanted to try it. Went to the grocery store, couldn't find smoked salt anywhere, so learned how to make it. So cool. You can learn how to do anything online these days, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then the smoked salt actually made the recipe. I mean, it just tasted so good. So we found ourselves making that recipe a lot. And then we were like, oh, well, let's make some extra salt. So then my husband started using it on baked potatoes and steak and so many other foods. I was like, well, maybe we have a business here.
That's great. That's awesome. It's really cool that you've been able to take just this little side passion that you had and then turn it into a business. Do you have any advice for anyone else who's maybe in a similar situation to you, where they establish themselves in a career, they're really good in this industry doing this one thing, and they have this passion on the side, and it's totally different than the main career? Do you have any advice for someone who's maybe thinking about taking that leap?
I do.
Yeah.
I would say never think that you have to know everything. You just have to do it. And also never give up.
Okay. That's great. Love to hear that. Anything else that you want to talk about before we break? I'd love for you to at least say where people can find Salted Perfection, and if there's anything else you want to share with the world, that would be the time.
Well, yeah, so you can find Salted Perfection at www.saltedperfection.com. And I guess I would like to say look forward to seeing Salted Perfection and a lot of stores going into the future.
Well, to be clear, you deliver to anyone, anywhere, right? Or
yes.
Just North America, or?
I believe so. I use Shopify, and I believe it's international.
Okay.
However, I haven't had an international sale yet. So if anyone's listening to this and they're located internationally, please.
So you are local in West Michigan farmers markets. You have the retail experience in Muskegon, and online at saltedperfection.com. Anyone, probably anywhere, can purchase your product and bring it into their home.
Correct.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up there. I do encourage people to try this out. These are great products. I've tried maybe 3 flavors. Everyone's been great. This one here is a smoked habanero, and I know my wife is going to love this one particularly. So I'm excited to take these home and try them out. So thanks for your time today, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.